Well, that's Justice Ishwar there submitting their first set of recommendations that are likely to be part of the budget 2016 when it comes to cleaning up direct tax laws. Now, the world has never been this unequal. The latest report by global anti-poverty agency Oxfam has found that in 2015, the world's richest 1% owned more assets than 99% of the world's poorer population put together. What's really worrying, though, is that while the wealth of the richest people increased over 40%, half the people in the poor bracket saw 50% of their wealth being wiped away. Ronojoy Banerjee has more.
The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and it's all thanks to stagnating economic growth. That's the key takeaway from the latest Oxfam report, which comes in even as the wealthiest people from around the world congregate for their annual retreat at Swiss ski resort at Davos. The report says that in 2015, 62 billionaires together held as much wealth as 3.5 billion people put together. That's the bottom 50% of the world's population. Also, the wealth of these 62 billionaires rose 44% between 2010 and 2015. But during this same period, the total wealth of the poorer population fell 41%. 2015 is also the first year that 1% of the world's population owned more assets than the remaining 99%. This is proof positive that when French economist Thomas Piketty postulated that in a world where return on capital exceeds growth, inequality will worsen, he was onto a winner.
There are two very sharply rising inequalities. One between capital and labor, as he points out in his book. But secondly, within labor, all of those who are working, the difference between the pay of a CEO versus that of an average worker. And here we have some numbers from India which are quite alarming actually, that a CEO of some companies in India are getting paid more than 400 times the average wage in their organization, not the minimum wage, the average wage.
While there are clearly strong ethical underpinnings as far as the issue of inequality is concerned, but this is beyond ethics and morality now, because now there is a strong economic logic that widespread disparities is not good for long-term economic growth, a view that has been forcefully put forth by economists from Raghuram Rajan to Christine Lagarde.
In October 2015, Governor Rajan had warned on how income inequalities were stalling growth. Basing his argument on the concept of declining marginal propensity to consume, he said, and I quote, "Poor people consume every rupee that they receive. But for rich people, once you have bought your yacht and private jet, there isn't more you can spend on." Unquote. This inequality may not disappear or even ease out anytime soon, especially with the IMF slashing global growth forecast to 3.4% in 2016. Now, inequality in India may not have hit the striking levels seen in the developed world, but this may just be a matter of time. After all, the wealthiest 1% of Indians together own as much as the 53% of the rest of the population. In New Delhi, Ronojoy Banerjee.
Well, the rich are getting richer.